Good morning. I'm Tyler Zemlak, and I'm with the innovation team at the University of Guelph. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you here to the 2023 Ontario Agri-Tech Pitch Competition. We have a great lineup of homegrown entrepreneurs presenting today, and I'm sure you'll be impressed. Before we get this underway, though, I would like to first take a moment to acknowledge the history of the location we're broadcasting from. Guelph resides on the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. I recognize this gathering place where we work and learn is home to many of the past, present, and future First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. I acknowledge this out of respect for the land I am on today and for the people who have and do reside here. Now, to get things underway, I would like to introduce our MC. Please welcome farmer and award-winning communicator, Andrew Campbell.
Wonderful. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. This is a very exciting morning. I have had the great pleasure of cheating and getting kind of descriptions of everybody already ahead. And we've got some really impressive innovation to talk about and share this morning. It's going to be a very exciting day. It's also going to be very fast-paced. If you're not aware of how we're going to do this, we've got 5 teams, as Tyler mentioned. They have 3 minutes to pitch our judges. 3 minutes, followed by 5 to 7 minutes. We're going to lean closer to 5, though, so we stay on time. 5 minutes of Q&A from our judges. And that's what our judges are going to use for their deliberation. And then the winner today is going to head home with $10,000 for their company, which is very exciting. There's also, and you can see, if you're here in the room, you can see posters kind of lined up around the wall. At some point, maybe at the intermission, you can scan that QR code because there's a People's Choice Award. And the People's Choice Award winner is going to go home with $2,500 for their company. So we'll want to make sure we do that. And then those that are watching online, because we do have an audience online, those we'll make sure we share the information for how you can judge that as well. So that is kind of the lineup for the day. We could not do this without our sponsors. Our sponsors we're really grateful for. They are the Ontario Agri-food Innovation Alliance, RHA Partners in the 519 Growth Fund, as well as Ag Expert. So we're very thankful. How about we give them a round of applause for helping today? The one that no one wants to be are the 3 people that sit before me today, is our judges. Maybe you can give a wave, Brian Cram. Brian is with the 519 Growth Fund. He's recognized as a hands-on strategic leader with a history of success, driving significant growth and transformations across a number of industries and business models. Brian, thanks very much for joining us today. We've got Dr. Deb Stark, the former deputy minister here at this was home for you one time at the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. She's held various senior leadership roles within OMAFRA, Ministry of the Environment, and was Ontario's first chief vet officer. And we've got Scott Miller, who, pardon? Crawford, that's not what I wrote down. I'm sorry, Scott. I don't know why I thought Scott Crawford, with a partner of Ag Capital Canada. Scott is standing in for John Lansing today, so I'm at a little disadvantage for your bio, other than I heard you're a tremendously wonderful human being, was the way Tyler described you. So thank you very much for joining us, Scott. I appreciate that. All right, so now, as I mentioned, the People's Choice Award is around. For those that are doing it, I guess the other thing you can do is you can go to the website Menti, MENTI.com, and there is a code. The signs are on there, but the code is 71959663 is our event code for how you can do the People's Choice. But obviously you want to save that for once we actually do hear from all of our competitors, companies, innovators today. So with that, I think I've got all the housekeeping items out of the way. I think we might as well get to work. With our pitch order, as I mentioned, we've got 5. What I'll do is I'll kind of creep in from the side as you get closer and closer to 3 minutes, at which point I will shove you off the podium at 3 minutes. No, I won't really, but I'll just get closer as you get to that 3-minute mark. And then we'll move to the Q&A after that. So I won't do any introduction of each company other than your name. I'll let you do that. Our first company, Biofect Innovations. Welcome.
All right, well, my name is Christian and I'm a recovering sugar addict. At 26 years old, I was pre-diabetic, overweight, and my doctor wanted to put me on statins. But can you blame me? Oh. But can you blame me? Sugar is in every product in the grocery stores, more than 75% of it. It's impossible to avoid. This is problematic because sugar is a known inflammation risk factor, causing 3 and 4 deaths every single year. Because of this, governments around the world are changing the way sugar is labeled and used in our products. And food manufacturers are taking notice by resorting to alternative sweeteners. The problem is we don't really like them because they don't taste good and they're not as healthy for you. So without a good sugar substitute, how do we address our sugar addiction sustainably? And at Biofect Innovations, this is the problem that we're solving by providing a high-intensity natural sweetener called Brazine. And Brazine is found in the oobleck berry in West Africa. This is unique because it's a protein and it's easily digested by the stomach and it doesn't cause insulin spikes. Oh, and it's 2,000 times sweeter than sugar. So a little bit goes a long way. And of course, it tastes like sugar. But the problem is this berry only grows in West Africa. So there's no way to scale Brazine. Until now, because at Biofect, we've developed a proprietary bio-based platform to produce proteins at scale, including Brazine, without needing to grow any plants. And we genetically engineer friendly microbes like yeast, which we ferment in a tank like making beer. We feed it low-value industry byproducts like starches, and they convert it to high-value Brazine. Then we purify the Brazine that's produced to use it in making great-tasting products like beverages, chocolates, for example. We started this journey last year with the aim of getting Brazine into the hands of as many producers as possible. This year, we partner with 3 flavor houses who are interested in buying the product, in addition to distributing, marketing, and potentially acquiring the portfolio. With our Canadian partners, we're going to take Brazine from lab to market, and in 2026, aim to produce 10,000 kilograms, with 50% of it already allocated to a flavor house. With this transaction, we're going to hit profitability, allowing us to scale and grow to serve more customers. We're a team of PhD founders surrounded by high-impact mentors and organizations around the world who empower us to stay on top of competition. And speaking of competition, our IP allows us to stand out, enabling us to produce more proteins to reach price parity with current sugar substitutes. Brazine has the potential to solve Canada's diabetes epidemic, and as well as supporting Canadian producers to be competitive despite changing regulatory landscapes. And with this OMAFRA funding, we'll be able to develop our IP, allowing us to establish Southern Ontario and Canada as a growing player in the growing bioeconomy. At just 26 years old, I had to make the drastic change of cutting out sugar completely. It worked, but life's about enjoying the simple pleasures. And at Biofect, we're creating healthier lives without compromise. And now, that's sweet. Thank you.
You stay at the mic.
Stay
I'll
here.
just yell. Yeah, you stay there.
Good job.
Scott, do you want to take the first question?
Yeah, for sure. What are kind of the unit economics on your product there, and what kind of sales do you have to get to profitability?
Yeah, it's a great question. So right now in the lab, just because we're not at scale yet, we're probably producing. So something I'll pull out of my pocket. It's this mystery white powder. This is the Brazine that we have here. So maybe a gram of this is probably costing us $1,200 at this point. To get us to scale, maybe this the 10,000 liters to 20,000 liters, we aim to get down the production of a kilo to $300. And the gross margins here, the profit margins, we would say is 55% based on the modeling here. And of course, the pricing model here is value-based based on what the customer intends to pay for it. And the cool thing about this is it's, like I mentioned, it's 2,000 times sweeter than sugar. So a little bit of it goes a long way. We don't need to scale so much to produce that same value. And this is the differentiator we saw with Brazine versus any other proteins we can make using the technology, like casein, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about your regulatory pathway?
Yes, that's an excellent question. So the regulatory pathway for this, brazing is not in the market yet. As I mentioned, we do have competitors, and some of the competitors have submitted their dossier to the FDA, Sweden being the front runner here. And in about 2 months, optimistically, or towards a year, brazing will be approved in the market. And this is through the self-GRAS approval through the FDA. For us, we're waiting to see what the feedback from the FDA will be so that we can pivot against that. We've set out our steps needed and the partners needed to conduct some of the tests that we need to prove that this protein is exactly what you see in nature. And the justification for its approval is that the protein itself has been consumed in West Africa for generations. Brazing has a cousin protein called thaumatin. That's already approved since the 1980s. Similar justification. So for us, we're confident that using that same rationale, we can get this product approved.
Right.
With any of your competitors that you've talked about that are maybe a little ahead from a market perspective, are they using basically the same fermentation technique?
Yeah. Thanks for the question. And that's always the question that we think about, where how do we differentiate ourselves amongst different precision fermentation companies? And the IP here really lies in your tool, the tool that you're using to produce these ingredients, because any molecular biology lab, they can produce brazing if they'd like to. It's just that, is it efficient? Are you producing more proteins in the same space and time relative to your competitors? And for us to take advantage of that, we've developed our proprietary microbe. So this is where our edge comes in, where currently the proprietary microbes that we have has not been seen in the industry yet. But rest assured, this microbe that we're using is GRAS approved. It's on the QPS list. And it's just that not many have been able to exploit it because the tools are not there and established. But that's what we studied in our PhDs, and that's what we're leveraging.
I'll leave it to all three of you now. Does anybody have another question?
What are some of the challenges in kind of scaling up your fermentation? I know it kind of changes when it's small scale to large scale, but yeah, that there.
Yeah, and that's always, again, we think about all these things all the time. And for us, taking it from lab to market by scaling it up from volumetric flasks to bioreactors, this is something where potentially a challenge will be making sure that the results that we gather from the shake flask translate into larger volumes. And for that reason, with these partners that I showed here, we partner with them and they will do the processing and optimization for us. And one key thing that I want to point out is that sugar is not just for sweetness. It's also for texturizing, it's for bulking, viscosity. This is a protein. And I'm the first to admit that it does not add that to the mix. So we would need the support of GFIC, for example, which I think some of us are in this room, to solve some of the formulation challenges for different verticals. But of course, the easiest vertical for us, the beverages, where you don't need the viscosity, the texture. And that's sort of like our strategy moving forward.
Deborah Bryan, yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk about your team and who and what would be the next skill set that you'd hire?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, we're all PhD founders. We were friends first before we were founders. We studied molecular biology, synthetic biology, really understanding how to manipulate and exploit cells the way that they're not normally used to, for example. And our mentors and advisors and organizations, they're really filling the gap where we need help. For example, some of the go-to-market business strategies. When we started this, we had the scientist mindset, but as we grew towards a more mature company, we've become more business savvy. We've understood what it takes to take a lab idea, a pet project to market. And we're really getting the scope of really what it takes to industrialize something out of the lab. And one thing I'd like to mention is this is beyond just Canada. We like to partner ourselves with different global organizations so we can have our finger on the pulse in terms of the trends, industries, and technologies that are coming out lightning fast, if I may add.
Last question, Brian.
Yeah, the brazing itself, how is it as far as shelf life, dealing with freezing temperatures, really high heat relative to sugar, as far as limiting maybe the applications for it?
Yeah, it's a good question because as we know, we need it to be compatible with food processing environments. So when this was discovered in 1994, extracted from the plants, they characterized the protein to be heat stable because of separate, different cysteine sulfide bonds, not to be technical there, but it allows it to become stable. And based on our tests, 200 degrees for about 4 hours. So this is good for pasteurization. pH-wise, wide range, 2 to 8, pH 2 to 8. Solubility, very soluble in water. Shelf life is pretty stable, given that, I mean, this is the white powder that I have. We've produced this at some point in the last few months, and it's still good. And this probably goes against what your mothers have taught you, but if you're brave enough, come see a guy you just met today to try this white powder. So you can see how flavorful it is. But that's one of the key things that we've definitely kept in mind to make sure that it's compatible with food production processes.
Thanks very much to Biofect.
Thank you, everybody. Good to be here.
I also was wondering how you travel with a gram of white powder in your pocket. But anyway, good. That's good. Yeah, very carefully. Don't forget that in your carry-on. All right. Our next company, Food Security Structures of Canada, I'd invite up.
Good morning. I'm Kim Parker, and I'm excited to share with you today our innovative growing solution, which can meaningfully address food insecurity while also providing a profitable business opportunity. We've all seen and felt the massive increases in food prices in recent years. Fresh produce has been the hardest hit by these increases. Crop failures due to climate change, disruption to the supply chain have all contributed to this crisis. Reliable, fresh, affordable produce is best grown locally. But to do that here in Canada, we've got to bring the crops indoors to protect them. Over the next decade, controlled environment agriculture is projected to more than triple in value, with over 50% of that market being in North America. Our solution is our movable agri-tunnel. This turnkey farm is able to grow crops all year long, regardless of location. The units are modular and can be insulated to handle any climate. Like a double-wide mobile home, the unit is built on 2 trailers, moved to location, assembled, and sealed. The wheels stay in place to create a semi-permanent structure that can be moved again in the future. Floor plans are completely customizable and can even include a retail storefront. Our better grow lights are critical to the success of the unit. We have developed our own proprietary cellular penetrating chipset, which basically means better growth and better yields. Utilizing a combination of vertical grow walls, grow bins, and microgreen towers, the agri-tunnel produces a weekly harvest of a variety of fruits, vegetables, herbs, and even root vegetables. Whether the produce is sold at wholesale or retail costs, the agri-tunnel provides a solid return on investment. So how do we compare to the competition? It would take 6 shipping container farms to produce the same yield as one agri-tunnel at half the capital cost. With a team of grower coaches and proven protocols to ensure the success of our growers, we are ready to go to market. Today, we are seeking a partner with an investment of $750,000 to build a demonstration agri-tunnel, hire staff, and go to market by the end of the year. We are looking for a partner with expertise and connections to help us scale up quickly because the need is urgent. We are ready to go to market by the end of this fiscal. Our 5-year projections for the sale of these units are solid, with increased margins as we increase volume. In our 5th year of business, we have a team of leaders who have diverse skills and expertise, a team who is passionate about our mission, and a roster of trusted advisors to guide us along the way. While our movable agri-tunnel provides a solid business opportunity, this is about people. It's about people who are counting on us to help them feed their families. And if that mission resonates with you, then we invite you to join us as we empower people to grow food all year long here in Ontario, in Canada, and around the world. Thank you.
Kim, Deb, I'll give you first question.
Okay, thanks. Nice job, Kim. Thank you. Can you talk a little bit more about your competitive advantage? Is it Is it price? Is it the grow technology? What really differentiates you?
Great question. What's different is that the product itself is able to handle climate. So one of the biggest challenges with a lot of the units that came in that were repurposing shipping containers is that they were not purpose built. And to insulate them to be able to handle the climate, whether it be cold or heat, you lose a lot of the growing space inside of them. The technology that we put into the unit as well, we have spent the last 3 years working very diligently on R&D to make sure that the systems that go inside of them to grow the crops can do maximum yield, make use of all of our square footage, but also crop diversity. I like a salad as much as the next person, but to be able to grow more than just lettuce. So our units are able to grow lettuce, herbs, root vegetables, plant-based proteins. So again, we're looking for that crop diversity. So that's probably one of the biggest differentiators with our unit, as well as the price. This has got a solid business model behind it that can ensure that a grower is able to have a solid income along the way, as well as feeding their community.
Great job. Where do you see your first market potential of really getting into a market and proving out what the whole concept?
Yeah. Right now, we're actually in conversation with a number of communities that are looking at this as an urban application, addressing some food insecurity within an urban desert situation, so that we are working with a not-for-profit in those two situations. We see there's a lot of opportunity from an entrepreneurial and job creation opportunity with the units. Our focus will be a little bit two-pronged. There is the revenue opportunity, the job opportunity, but we're very sensitive to the risk right now, the insecurity that is occurring in many communities, and that there's choices being made with respect to the buying of food for families. Groceries bills are getting so high, people are cutting out fresh produce. So looking at the communities that are at the highest risk, where we can make the biggest impact, is also a very high priority for us as well. So northern communities, very much on our radar.
Can you speak a bit about the pricing model? Is there any sort of ongoing revenues or anything like that that'll be associated with it?
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. We actually do, at this point, we are having conversations with respect to a franchise model. So when we are looking at our unit, what's really been one of the biggest successes is our grower coaches, our proven protocols, and the ongoing support, so that our growers know that they've got a team that's got their back and can help them along the way. So that really does lend itself well to a franchise model. So in 2024, we are looking at being able to franchise, and then in 2025, rolling out internationally with a franchise model. And again, I think the biggest success with that franchise will be that support. Farmers everywhere will attest to the fact that having support and being able to network and to have people to connect with are a big part of success.
Where will you manufacture?
Yeah, we're located in London, Ontario. We are part of the Grove. So shout out to Reg Ash and the team at the Grove in London with the agri innovation they're happening there. We have talked about the fact that we will be doing some manufacturing there in the assembling. But I think what's really important is to also identify where the closest location is to where the unit will be deployed. These units are modular and easy to assemble, so we can actually ship the equipment into the location and assemble on site. Our target is to be able to have the unit assembled and ready to plant within 2 to 3 days of arriving. And so that can be done pretty much on location. So minimize shipping as much as possible. And again, minimize our carbon footprint in that process.
Quick question about insulation.
Yes.
It was on one of your slides. It's a specialized insulation, and I know that's a big part of the proposition,
Yes.
keeping the temperature control. Does that get applied where you're fabricating the system, or does it get applied once it's in a community?
So there's some flexibility to that. If we're in an area where we're able to drive the unit in, so for example, if we were assembling in London and we're able to drive to the location, we would do a fair bit of that prep ahead of time so that we can arrive in community with as quickly assemble as possible, but we can do that in community as well. So that's part of the flexibility with the unit, is to be able to customize with the need. If we were traveling in on an ice road, we may do some preparation ahead of time, but then finish in market. If it was a fly-in community, we would fly the panels in without the insulation and then insulate in community. So again, there's lots of flexibility to really meet the need of the community. Obviously, if we're in southwestern Ontario and assembling, we would do the installation at our location and then drive it. Like a mobile home, we would drive it to site and set it up and be ready to go.
Time for one quick one, Scott. Do you have any?
What's kind of the payback period there on one of the units for, say, a franchisee or something like that there?
Yeah, the operator. So we're targeting, depends on the crop, but we have used in our financial projections diverse crops of a fairly low retail value on them, because we don't want people expecting high revenues and then depending on your crops. Right now, we're projecting 2 to 2.5 years using diverse leafy greens, a few herbs. So nice conservative crops in a unit. We do recommend crop diversity as opposed to monocrop. So, okay.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Kim.
Thank you.
All right, our next company, our next innovation comes from Psigryph.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sean Thompson, CEO of Psigryph, where we use food tech to improve the health of plants, animals, humans, and the environment. So the problem we are solving is bioavailability. So the concept of getting biologically active molecules inside of cells where they can do their work. This is an issue for pesticides, fertilizers, animal health and nutrition, human health and nutrition. And we're attacking these markets in order of least regulatory resistance to highest regulatory resistance. Our solution is called NanoPet. It's like UPS for living cells. So we're the box that carries molecular cargo efficiently to its destination. The technology itself is derived from Ontario-grown sour cherries. They're subjected to a proprietary process to create these two nanomaterials, spherical nanoparticles and elongated nanofibers. And then we create final products by attaching molecules of interest for agriculture, food and bev, human health and nutrition. So our patents cover the process to make them, the structures themselves, and various uses. And we're going to market in 2023 with the least regulatory resistance product, Cholesterol, a dietary supplement in the United States. We have an outstanding team of business executives and scientists across all the major areas of interest for our technology. And so we're raising $1.1 million US dollars, so 1.5 Canadian dollars, to achieve certain milestones that are being requested by potential partners like Nestle and DSM. And we think we can achieve those over the next 12 months. And then we'll go to market with a $10 million Series A to really scale our manufacturing. So more on cholesterol. The reason there's excitement around this product is that it's an all-natural solution to managing cholesterol. You can see here on this scale, on this graph, that Lipitor, the top-selling statin, lowers cholesterol by 20% in this model. In the same model, cholesterol dropped the cholesterol by 50 to 60%. So 2.5 times the effectiveness of Lipitor. And in the agriculture space, we're going after the nitrous oxide problem, which is something we don't hear a lot about. So human activity to grow protein in plants and animals results in the release of 8 million metric tons of nitrous oxide every year, half of it from plants, half of it from animals. And this is a huge problem because nitrous oxide is 300 times more effective at heating the earth than carbon dioxide. So that little slice of 6% you see there in the upper left is a bigger problem than all of that carbon and methane. And so when we take those stories out to the marketplace, this is what happens. So we're in a pilot with Nestle. We've been on a pilot with them since September of last year. We're moving closer to a pilot with DSM, and all the other logos you see there are companies that we are having substantial discussions with on the R&D side and also with their venture arms. So in closing, I just want to highlight that cholesterol, we have market research telling us that it's a $200 million revenue opportunity in the United States alone. Nanopect is a platform technology that has applications across several multi-billion-dollar industries, and we have multiple transnationals interested in the technology. So I invite you to join us on our mission to improve the health of the entire planet.
John, Brian, you want to take the lead?
Sure. Great job, Sean. What's your bias? A number of markets, least regulatory to higher regulation. So great approach. What about going to market itself? Going it alone, partnerships, licensing your technology? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so we're primarily a B2B company. So the intent is to license in general, but cholesterol, we are going to market online directly because it's very low hanging fruit for us. We did market research ourselves, which showed us that there are more than 40,000 Google searches every month in the United States containing the words diet and cholesterol. So people are looking for a solution. We have one, and we got an excellent response to our market research. So we're going to launch that ourselves, but I can see if that product is very successful, a larger company coming in to take over.
How do you plan on informing your target customers of the benefits of cholesterol?
Yeah, well, again, it's going to be online marketing. So we have a number of videos that we've already have ready to go out to customers to as push emails. And we're going to, you're limited on what you can say. We can't make a claim like lowering cholesterol. That's for, that's a fact, but we can't use that in our marketing. So we're going to use the strategy that the other cholesterol targeted dietary supplements use, which is that the product is all natural. We'll talk about what it contains: turmeric, broccoli, almond, and we'll, tag on to the benefits that those products, those molecules are already known to have.
Yeah, you said your key input was sour cherries.
Yes.
So is that a very specific breed? And I know we grow a lot in Ontario, but I can imagine, like, what kind of supply do you need, and will that be a constraint in the future?
So it is a specific breed. It's the Montmorency sour cherries. There are other varietals of sour cherries that could be used. But my co-founder was a professor here at the University of Guelph and was interested in crops that grow in Ontario. So we can also make these materials from grapes and blueberries, but sour cherries are sort of the Goldilocks fruit because they're low in price. We grow a lot of them. And 10% of Ontario's supply would yield 4 billion human doses. So we won't have any constraints anytime soon.
I'll leave it to the three of you. Who's got another question?
Going back to the product and sort of the resale cycle. So the supplement market's a pretty competitive market right now, and I agree it's easier to get into because of the lower regulation. Have you tried to consider how you might involve doctors in getting into some trials or doing different things where they can be sort of reference recommenders of the product to differentiate you from the rest of the pack?
So that's down the road. We would probably go with naturopathic doctors first. So we do plan to do trials. In fact, Nestle has asked us to do a clinical trial. We were planning to do one anyways at the University of Guelph, and we'll probably run one in the United States as well. So people in the nutraceutical world will be our first. Doctors are expensive. Marketing through doctors is expensive, and it's more of a pharmaceutical approach. So that's down the road for us.
Scott or Deb?
Can you speak a bit about kind of the sales cycle with like the Nestle's of the world? Like how long would that kind of take there to develop products with them?
Okay, so those are two questions. So the first product, cholesterol, they're interested in, and the sales cycle to complete a deal with Nestle is going to require us to scale our manufacturing, hence why we're raising our additional capital. And they want to see some sales numbers from cholesterol before they get involved in that product. They're also looking at the technology for other uses, for other products in their pipeline. And we've been talking to them for almost a year, and I suspect it will take another year.
As a follow-up question, where do you plan to be in 2 years and what could knock you off track?
The only thing that could knock us off track is not raising sufficient capital. If we have the capital, we're going to succeed. Where will we be in 2 years? We will be marketing cholesterol with, double-digit millions in sales in the United States. We will probably have launched that product in China as well. And I believe our first agricultural product, likely to be an RNA biopesticide, will be very close to launching in 2025.
All right, Sean, thanks very much. All right, our fourth company innovation comes from Terra Optima.
Hello, everyone. My name is William Wang, co-founder of Terra Optima Labs. At the start of COVID, I bought 1,000 mealworms to keep as pets because I was bored. Over the course of a few months, I ended up feeding them all of my food waste. They also grew to 10,000 in population, and there was a brown powder that was at the bottom of the bins. I learned that this brown powder was their poop, also called mealworm frass, and that this frass has a higher NPK than chicken manure. Naturally, I decided to put some on my houseplants, and wow, did they grow. At Terra Optima Labs, we solve the problems of on-farm organic waste management and reduce reliance on imported nutrients through the use of natural organisms and technology. There are 48,000 farms in Ontario, and each farm is a generator of waste and a consumer of nutrients. Nutrient input costs are significant, with an 80% increase in fertilizer and a 30% cost increase in feed in just this past year. We will initially be targeting the 28,000 farms in Ontario that have under 100,000 in revenue, just because the sales cycle is a bit faster. On these farms, we will create systems that upcycle agri-food waste into natural nutrients like fertilizers and feeds. We do this with the help of natural organisms such as bacteria, insects, and worms that essentially eats the waste and processes it into beneficial outputs. Some fertilizers that we've created from our worm composting system has increased tomato yields by 146% and strawberry yields by 25% over a synthetic strawberry fertilizer. These results show that our natural product is competitive with our synthetic counterparts. We've already created our first system at the Western Fair District in London, where we processed 70 metric tons of organic waste into fertilizer last year. With our experience at the system, we're confident that we can manage large amounts of waste with no negative externalities and that we can replicate this in a farm environment. 2 weeks ago, we attended the London Farm Show, and we had amazing interest from farms for our systems and products. From this interest, we've narrowed down a short list of 5 pilot farms who are eager to install our systems on their farm this year. With the nitrous oxide emission reduction targets and a glowing realization for soil degradation, we're seeing that more and more farmers are seeking alternative and biological fertilizer inputs, which perfectly aligns with the solution that we offer. On these pilot farms, we will generate operational data, farm cost savings data, and we will use this to fully launch the sale of our systems next year at farm trade shows. We'll first target the smaller farms, and once we gain more experience, we will then sell to larger farms. We're currently funding our research and development by selling fertilizer and produce in our local community, as well as hosting educational tours to school groups. By 2025, we hope to have $1.5 million in sales, with 74% of these sales deriving from our system sales. Over the past 2 years, we've built a diverse range of partners that have supported us in our research, in our agri-tech development, and in our business expansion. Our ask of $10,000 will help us fund more research trials for our systems and products to better quantify our value proposition. This will help legitimize our products and systems, reduce risk to farmers that implement our systems, and give us data-backed results that supports the sales process next year. Thank you, everyone, for listening to my presentation. I'd like to call up my co-founder, Dan, to assist with some questions.
Thanks, William. Welcome, Dan. Brian, you want to take the lead?
Good prop. Good presentation. There's a variety of methodologies that you're looking at to do what you're trying to achieve. So are you selling a product? Are you selling a service? How are you approaching the market from that perspective?
Absolutely. Well, right now, located at Western Fair District in London, Ontario, as part of the Grove, there's a lot of food businesses there. So food processors, there's some restaurants, a food market. So that pilot facility is our system sale demonstration to showcase. We do a 2-stage composting, so aerobic. So if you want to flip to the systems bit, maybe. But anyways, it's a long in-vessel composter. So this is aerobic. So we get rid of all the food waste pathogens, heat it up. It reduces the volume, and then we feed it to worms to create that product. So from that facility, we are creating products which we can sell back to the community. Right now, that is listed on Amazon and direct to consumer online. Our plan is, with that system and pilot partner, is to return value back to them. So rather than their waste streams being a source of cost and burden, by implementing our systems, they can actually upcycle it. And through creative business structurings, we can return value in a profit share model, for example. When we scale to other systems and other farms, as we plan to do as our majority of business operations, we want to create creative solutions with each client. This is why we work with multiple composting systems and organisms to tailor to their organic waste, but also business needs. So if it's simply cost reduction, we'll find the simplest solution for them, most organisms, to get rid of their waste. If they're looking to bring value back to their farm or facilities, or if it's in an urban setting, then we can actually package it or centralize it and return value back to them. So we are giving away products right now in the short term to fund our growth. And the mission is to create products from each of these system facilities that can either be brought back to communities or used directly on farms as a fertilizer or feed. So it will be a case-by-case solution. And that's where we feel is both our differentiation and specialization is various sources of decomposition, various products tailored to each client.
Can you speak about your kind of unfair advantage? What's stopping other, companies from doing what you're doing?
Yeah, so right now, mostly just trade knowledge. So we are relying on third-party service providers with their equipment right now. For example, some of our equipment is specifically only used in farm livestock composting. We're bringing it to an urban setting. It's some of this cheapest equipment you can get per ton. So that's unique, but we're pairing it with multiple technologies at once, which hasn't really been seen. So multiple stages of composting. We've infused this product with another ingredient called biochar, which really enhances both the microbial activity, the water retention, and nutrient release of the product. So we're finding ways to bring synergies among all of our streams. So for example, another form of composition we use is fungal composition, so mushroom compost. You can actually take the spent substrate of a mushroom, and it's really, really good for soil as well, as it already has those fungal networks, which help communicate between plant roots, move nutrients and water around. So by merging that with our other composting, we can bring more biodiversity to our organic product and have more value added versus just a simple compost or a simple worm product. So by merging multiple composts, we see synergies there.
Yeah, thanks. Tailor-made solution, farm by farm, sounds like it's very labor intensive. How do you plan to scale?
So the systems that we will be implementing on the small farms are tailor-made in that we will offer them, either the use of this organism or that organism, but each of the systems we have already pre-made. So we would just be selling them a pre-made system and scaling up depending on the size and their waste generation requirements.
About the business model again, you'd mentioned about bringing things back in packaging and doing this. Are you maintaining, is the idea to maintain ownership of the equipment at the farm or the location? It's some sort of lease model that you're doing? Or are you actually selling that? And then this is an additional service that you've got another revenue stream from?
So the business model will vary depending on the needs of the farm or the site. For example, a farm may likely choose to lease it just because of their cash flow constraints. But for example, we're talking to universities and they would be willing to outright purchase the system from us.
And as far as then doing this sort of work on behalf of them, as you said, you'll take the output from their system and somehow work a revenue share agreement or something?
Yeah. So for example, the worm castings, if we were to sell them per ton on a farm basis, they would only be about $300 to $400. But with our product, we're able to derive $12,000 of revenue per ton of worm castings when we sell it in the direct consumer market. So there's a lot of revenue that we could share.
So how do you get into a consumer market?
So we're in one right now. So it's just been marketing to at-home gardeners, and we're slowly trying to work our way up in that scale. Right now, it's hobby growers and very specialized growers that are either growing food for themselves at home, specialty plants, cannabis, for example, as well. Something where they actually want to see that back in their growth. Not necessarily an ROI perspective. I can say that for a home gardener, you wouldn't use this as an economically budget, but more so, I really care about what I'm feeding my plants because I'm eating it. So it's completely natural. It's not yet certified, but that is in the works. And you get that growth result as well.
And we recently just got an introduction to PV Mart from the FCC. So we're hoping that we can scale to retail locations.
Last question, Scott. Is product consistency a bit of a challenge? Like, is there certain proportions that you need to mix it or something along those lines?
So right now, that isn't a challenge. We do maybe perceive that to be in the future as we find new waste sources. So right now, all of the waste streams we have at our pilot facility are quite consistent. So our output product has been fairly consistent. We do get regular testing to make sure our minerals are similar. Once we go to new locations, we're going to get new outputs from their operations. So we do see that product varying as we go to more locations. It may be a matter of blending it all together in a central facility. There have been other models that have done something similar where you do 1 part composting at that site, reduce the volume for transportation, whether it's half or a third, and then you could further process it in another facility to make it a bit more homogeneous. But that is going to be a challenge we're going to have to overcome in the future.
Great. Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate it. All right, we're already down to our final company here, VETSon.
I guess being VETSon or Yates, we were going to be last no matter what, since we're going alphabetically, but neither here nor there. All right. I'm Colin Yates. I'm the co-founder of VETSon. Oop. I guess that's, yes, that is a drawing I did when I was about 6 years old. I grew up going on, well, I'm a walker. I got to stay here. Sorry. I grew up going on farm calls with my veterinarian father, Dr. Glenn Yates, and co-founder of VETSon. 30 years ago, the family farm looked very much like this. The large animal veterinarian was an integral part of the rural community, a neighbor, and therefore accessible 24/7. Today, large animal veterinarians are very much in short supply, not just in Ontario, but globally. Yet, the business model of large animal veterinary practice has changed very little in this time. The result is that over 100,000 farms in English-speaking countries worldwide lack a veterinarian today. It's not changing. It's not, there we go. A virtual healthcare platform that contains video consultations, e-commerce that gets medication direct to the farm, point of care tests and sensors can not only help fill this demand, but it can make large animal practice efficient and allow them to serve farms of all sizes in all locations. There we go. VETSon has developed such an application. VETSon helps veterinarians perform emergency visits 100% virtually, helps them fulfill medication direct to the farm, allowing them to do 3 calls to 1 that they can do today. For the farmer, this means a lower cost, convenient service that is accessible to all farm sizes and all locations. Right now, we've gone direct to market to unserved farms in Ontario through our partner practice, and are working with veterinarians across the country to help provide them service. This means more farms connecting to the app more rapidly because each veterinary practice has a lot of farms. We're also disrupting the methods of how large animal veterinary practice is undertaken through point of care tests and sensors. Point of care tests means the farmer can do the diagnoses, send that data back to the veterinarian so they can help on a consultation basis rather than having to go to each and every farm call. We're going to be disrupting fulfillment, making sure that medication can seamlessly get to the veterinarian, to that farm when they require it. And global expansion, we're not just looking at new markets that have unserved farms, but we're looking at how can we serve farms of all sizes more efficiently. Today, we're generating revenue, recurring revenue, through our minimum viable product on over 60 farms connected to the app and developing our first point of care test. In 5 years, we believe that we'll have over 30 million in revenue and over 5,000 farms connected, not just here in Canada, but globally, and farms of all sizes. We believe we can achieve this through the strength of our founding team, which has excellent domain knowledge, experience, and a track record in running businesses. We're going to grow through developing a sales team for both veterinary services as well as farms, and building a pool of part-time and full-time veterinarians to help drive sales, not just here in Canada, but globally. VETSon is currently looking to raise $2 million, and the prize money from this event will go to marketing across Canada. Thank you.
Thanks, Colin. I'll
Yep.
give the vet the floor first. Yep.
I'm just going to call up my father here too,
Sure.
just in case you have a vet question there, Deb.
Yeah. Just help me understand, are you trying to sell to veterinarians or are you trying to sell directly to farmers?
Yep. So we're selling to veterinarians and providing a service through the veterinarians that they can sell on to the farmer. That way the point of care test goes through the veterinarians, the sensors go through the veterinarians, all as a service package. And through our partner practice, we're able to go direct to farms already in order to get those unserved farms that don't have a veterinarian.
Regulatory hurdles, both in Ontario and across Canada, but I'll stay in the country for the time being, both on the pharmaceutical side as well as the service side.
Okay.
You want to step in front of that?
Okay, I will. CVO, right at the present time, is doing a complete review of the Veterinarians Act. So they're going to modernize it. At the same time, CVO came out with new rules on telemedicine in the last year, opening the field up more to our type of program. We have already talked to Alberta through their registration. We've talked to Saskatchewan in their registration, and there are processes now that they're all going through to increase this telemedicine aspect throughout. Because of the shortage of veterinarians, they can't get service is the thing. So telemedicine is opening up very quickly across Canada is the thing. And it will be across, well, I think globally.
Did you say that the vets will be kind of your employees that are on the platform? And kind of a follow on to that, if not, how are you attracting vets to the platform?
Yeah, so we're developing a pool of part-time and full-time vets that we will man the platform with, because one of the main needs that veterinarians require is time off. So they need somebody to cover calls virtually. So we essentially provide that clinic with coverage during those times, and we license them in those areas so that, you know, if it's XYZ veterinary services in, Peace River, Alberta, they're part of XYZ veterinary services and licensed through that practice, although they are hired through us. So that practice is paying us on a software as a service basis to provide that coverage.
Can you talk a little bit about your competition?
Yes, there's a lot of competition in the companion animal space, but very little in the livestock telehealth space right now. There are some that are doing, well, in the companion animal space, everybody's probably heard of Vetster and Smart Vet here in Burlington as well. And they are expanding rapidly across Canada and globally. Vetster is now in the UK. But in the large animal space, there's really nobody focusing on large animal particularly. There are some doing a little bit of equine, some doing some specialty work, but we're really the first to take on the large animal space.
Just following up on my previous question, so sort of answered the service aspect of it. What about the pharmaceutical side, if regulations associated with that?
Yep. So setting up hubs in each province or each area is going to be key in order to make sure that we can get medication quickly to the farm, because obviously you can't send pharmaceuticals over borders. So when we partner with that practice, either we ship through those practices or we set up hubs for ourselves in order to enable distribution faster through those areas.
And to make it legal, technically you have to have a vet client-patient relationship. So either that clinic that we're working through has that relationship with that client, so it's legal for them to send product, like pharmaceutical product to them, or through our partner clinic, then we have a vet client-patient relationship. In Ontario now, we can do that through telemedicine. Some of the other provinces, they're working on that through telemedicine alone, is the thing.
How many farms do you need to kind of sign up to your platform to get to profitability?
It depends on the size of the farm, obviously, but about 500.
Time for another question?
So same question I asked somebody else. What would be your next hire on your team? What kind of skill set do you need to be?
Yeah, we're looking at building out a sales team, and that's what we lost speaker there, but sales team to help us grow across the country. To vets, yeah, vets and farms as well, just making sure that, because what we're finding is once farms know about the service, they're talking to their veterinarians. And we go to a lot of farm association meetings, and that excitement obviously gets passed along the pipeline.
All right. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I don't envy the three of you. How about a round of applause for all 5 of our innovators? That was, it really is tremendous to see what's happening here in Ontario, knowing that, these are obviously 5 leaders, but just, imagine what else is happening beyond these walls today. It's pretty exciting for agriculture and for the province. So you 3 are now excused. And you can go deliberate and decide on just who you decide gets $10,000. All right. I think Tyler's going to lead you out the side door. All right. And maybe what I'll do for everybody in the room, I'll give you a second to kind of stand up and stretch. And make your way to one of those signs on the post or the wall. Snap that with your camera to do the People's Choice Award. If you're not really a fan of using the QR code reader, aka my father, then you can go to the website and you can see it there. It's menti.com, MENTI.com. And you can see, certainly for those that are watching too, you can see the code there. So you go to the website, there's a box right there. You can enter that code that is 7195963. So I'll give everybody just a minute to do that. Make sure you do have the opportunity to do People's Choice Award. I'm not even going to do that because that is tough to decide between the 5 of you. Really, again, congratulations. These are exciting ideas for Ontario agriculture. Now, obviously, we're going to give the judges a bit of time to do their deliberation. Not a lot of time, but we're going to give them a bit of time to do their deliberations. In the meantime, we actually have some video to highlight some other innovations that are happening. So do we want to go ahead and roll that?
Hi, my name is Joe Dales, and I'm one of the co-founders of RHA Partners and the 519 Growth Fund. We're pleased to be a sponsor of the Ontario Agri-Tech Pitch Competition today. Thank you for the University of Guelph for showing leadership on pulling this great event together. Congratulations to the 5 finalists. We're really excited about the future of your companies and look forward to helping in the future. In this session, while the judges are deliberating over the winners, we wanted to introduce you to 3 great young founders. We're going to meet Jenny from Vivid Machines, Cole from Intelliculture, and Elaine from Combine. We're going to ask them some questions about getting their businesses started, some of the experiences they've had when they scaled them up and are growing, And then we're going to discuss some of the challenges they've had with, raising finances, and in some cases, some of the strategic opportunities they've had. I want to thank everyone for following us and attending today. If you don't know, RHA Partners, we invest in early stage innovative companies. So reach out to us if you're a founder or you're an investor. We're happy to talk to you and see if we can find ways to work together. Thanks again.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny Lemieux. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Vivid Machines. We founded just over 2 years ago, and what we're doing is we are helping right now mostly fruit farmers and the supply chain, so pack houses and marketers, do a better job of understanding what's happening on the farm so that they can intervene with more precise farming strategies and ultimately increase profitability, as well as then providing transparency throughout the supply chain so that we can reduce costs such as shipping and storage and better negotiate sales contracts. And we're doing that by building technology that incorporates computer vision, so seeing what's happening on the farm and then sort of a pipeline and real-time predictions.
I'm Mike Bow. I'm the CEO of Combine Ag. I'm also a mixed dairy and cash crop farmer from Eastern Ontario. Combine Ag is a crop marketing management software purposely built for farmers. So we help manage the inventory and trade side of marketing grains, oil seeds, etc. We define our vision as helping farmers optimize the value of every bushel, help them understand their marketed position, their different levels of risk on contracts they need to deliver, grain that's unpriced, what cash flow is going to look like, and ultimately help them make more informed decisions when it comes to crop marketing.
Yeah, so my name is Cole Powers. I'm one of the co-founders of IntelliCulture and also the CEO. And what we do at IntelliCulture is, the way that we frame it is equipment management software for producers. So we work primarily with high value and permanent crops, so orchards such as apples and cherries, as well as vineyards. And most of our footprint is on the west coast of US and Canada. And tactically what we do is we have these GPS units that growers plug into anything on the farm with wheels, whether that's a tractor, a side-by-side, a pickup truck, etc. From there, we have a web-based platform that folks log into, as well as a whole reporting suite. And we offer up a few different things. First and foremost, we have a maintenance planning software for just keeping track of overall cost of ownership of machinery on the farm, and alerting of anything such as like diagnostic codes or issues that those machines might have, as well as things that need service on their farm. Then more on the field side, what we do is we send out what we call coverage reporting, which is generally giving growers insight into efficiency on the farm in terms of what your average acre per hour is for your different operations. And the biggest thing, especially for these orchards and vineyards, is spending time giving back a report on spraying. So giving insight into if they missed part of a block, for example, that could be conducive to them losing crop because of a mildew or a pest outbreak.
So I think the first thing I would suggest is if you are a team or co-founders, one thing that we've found really helpful is to really debate and lock down our values in terms of the company, because then it makes decision making a lot quicker in the future. And there's even like founder questionnaires out there, but being able to sort of understand what matters to you as a company, then it becomes really clear about which decisions make sense and which don't. So that was something that was important for us. One other thing, like as a founder, it's, as you all know, it's like not an easy journey. And sometimes you just feel like things aren't progressing the way you want them to. And my advice there would be just don't stop. Really, it's just the person that stays in the race that keeps going. So just keep pushing forward, even if it feels like you're not getting where you want to be. It does pan out. It just seems to take sometimes a really long time. And then I think the last thing I would suggest is if you can build a network of other founders and entrepreneurs that you can celebrate the wins with, that, really understand what it's like to say fundraise or get a new customer, but also, that you can ping for help or to have a conversation when things aren't going so well. That's really made a huge difference for us. We've got a really great network of other entrepreneurs that we're able to connect with.
I'd say a couple of thoughts depending on who they're targeting. So in our particular case, we are a farmer-centric solution. One of the challenges in farmer-centric solution is distribution. So really think about paths to go to market on that front. One of the things we do is we leverage a variety of advisors that work with farmers around crop marketing decision and risk, because our software product is a natural complement to that privileged relationship or that trusted relationship. So it gives us a much easier path to potentially work with a broader spectrum of farmers and reach them. The other thing I would say in a particular case, we're a little bit unique. We were actually recently acquired by Bayer Crop Science at a complete arm's length setup. So we actually operate as a company separate from the broader company. But what it does is it actually solves a lot of distribution challenges for us and gives us very patient capital given our sort of general model. I would say though more generally, we really over-index spending time with users. In our context, we build software. You need to really design software well, understand the problems that you're solving for, so kind of so-called jobs to be done. So while some people might view it as somewhat expensive, we do spend a lot of time with farmers on the field at their farms to just inform our feature set, how to build them, what's working, not working, testing prototypes, etc. And I think that's something that we pride ourselves in, that we see is really starting to pay dividends. We like to say 80% listening, 20% talking, in sort of building a farmer-centric solution. Maybe more generally, I would say, depending on what you're building, especially in the early stages, you have to think about what you're looking to de-risk. So if you're very technology heavy in your offering, something unique that's got IP, biotech, whatnot, what I think you're looking to do is de-risk your technology risk more than anything, versus in our case, our foundational thing we build isn't particularly technologically so complex. So we need to show more user traction, activation, usage of our product. So think of yourself from an investor trying to think, how do I understand what are the risks in sort of building value in this company, and where do you sit on that risk profile? I think it's something to think about overall. And so depending on what you're trying to raise or do, what you're trying to show is which part of your overall business are you going to de-risk. Is it the technology side? Is it the traction, the go-to-market, the business model, the pricing? Think a little bit about in the early stages, what exactly are you trying to show that you're de-risking?
First piece of advice still stands, in all honesty. Like, ag is so relational that I think that probably one of the most important things that we've done is been able to spend a lot of time with growers and a lot of time with other folks in the industry. But when it comes to just getting started, like, as cliche as it is, just doing it is probably the biggest piece of advice that I could give entrepreneurs that are just getting cracking here. Like, I remember when we were first starting in teleculture, there was a period of kind of overthinking it, almost trying to do everything right and trying to plan out what our roadmap and what our business model looked like. But frankly, just going out and trying stuff and talking to customers really helped propel us and started getting us a lot more momentum and tactical growth as a company. And then the last piece of advice is pick up the phone and talk to customers. Like, at the end of the day, customers and partners in the field are the folks who are going to make your business happen. And the more time you spend getting to know your customers and over-indexing on how and why you bring them value and change their day is going to bring merit to the business.
I think right now, if you're looking for institutional funding in this market, you probably would like to have some revenue first, or at least some proof points. So, customer proof has been probably the most important thing for us. And that really changed the game for us when we started landing our first customers. So I would say that. The other is connect with other founders, because if there are founders that have raised in your space, likely they have really great, like, people can reach out to me. I've talked to probably the majority of investors in North America in ag tech. So a lot of us have connections and can give you the lowdown and possibly do introductions. So use your network.
So we raised our seed round about a year ago now, and super fortunate and grateful to have raised it with some local folks as well as other Canadian VCs. So round was led by a group called Emertech, and it was a good process overall. I think if I can roll up some specific advice for entrepreneurs, first and foremost would be don't underestimate the value of networking and building relationship. And not in a superficial fashion, but just really getting to know folks in industry and spending a lot of time asking questions from investors and partners that can help you better yourself as an entrepreneur. So that would be my first piece of advice. And then the second one would be don't underestimate how long and how much work it does take to raise a successful round. You're going to have a lot of conversations. You're going to have to find and work through finding a really good fit for both you and the investor. And it's going to take longer probably than you might expect.
Vivid Machines, we just did the first close of our seed round, February 21st. So we've raised in this round, we're raising 3.5 million. We just closed. Our target was 2.75 on the first close, and we actually raised 2.9 million. And our investors are really fantastic. We've got the BDC Women in Tech leading, Stand Up Ventures is in there, Tallgrass, Emertech, Cornell, the W Fund, and then we had some investors from our pre-seed round, such as Box One and N49P and Entrepreneur First. So we've gone through a couple rounds of fundraising. Probably a total of $5 million US. And then also we've been very lucky with grants and contribution funding from the Canadian and Ontario governments. We've raised about 1.5 million US there also. So, we're really tapping into every source. But if anybody ever wants to connect on how awful and long and painful fundraising can be, I think I've had one of the most crazy long processes. So, it did pan out, but it can be pretty all consuming and difficult. Yeah, I think the most exciting news for us is that we closed our fundraising, or at least the first close of our fundraising a couple weeks ago. So we're really happy about that. And now we're heads down hiring. So if you're an engineer looking for a job or interested in ag and working on in the field, we're looking for field techs. So, excited to be able to deploy that capital to build a really great business. So I think that's the most exciting news.
So, as I alluded to, we were recently acquired by Bayer Crop Science, and specifically their digital arm. This sits within a broader ambition of enabling increasingly digital management of farms. It's a very unique transaction and model. Took over a year to structure properly, but we are effectively a standalone company within the broader Bayer organization. Operating arm's length, and what we do is we kind of help move from Bayer's focus, which is really crop production management. Think about what they offer. They offer digital farming solutions. They offer crops, seeds, crop protection, etc. We are a crop marketing management solution, and so while these two things are related, they are very different in terms of how you manage these things on a farm. But if the broader ambition in ag, and I think this is something that is needed in ag, is really to break down information silos, kind of going from field to on-farm storage, to transportation to delivery. We act as sort of that linchpin in the middle to enable all of that. But in our model also, we work with a variety of non-Bayer partners to enable sort of this sort of grain marketing experience for farmers. But at the same time gives us a distribution channel and a lot of resources to patiently build that. So super excited. We're kind of a Ontario-based company. We have about 20 people in the broader Ontario region, 100% focused on building software solutions for farmers in the grain marketing space. So look for us to kind of keep growing, keep creating some visibility for what it is we're doing, which is building a crop marketing operating system purposely built for farmers and digitally native, because we think that that's a much needed gap in the industry today.
All right, I'm going to invite everybody to find their way back to their seat. For those that are online, we are here to the moment of truth. Our judges have come back. They're sweating. They look exhausted. I don't know how much of a battle it was, but all right, so we've got our People's Choice Award, we've got our Grand Prize Award, and then we'll invite Deb to speak on behalf of the judges, just to kind of give some final remarks. So with no further ado, on the People's Choice Award, congratulations to Food Security Structures of Canada. Come on up, Kim. Thank you. Yeah, say thank you. Yeah, do that.
Yes, I am just going to say thank you very quickly because I know we've had a lot of supporters online that weren't able to be here today, but they have been watching online. And I just want to say thank you to all of them for their support, for cheering us on and helping us out today. And thank you to the judges as well for putting this all together. It's been a good morning. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Deb. Our grand prize winner. Congratulations, Biofect Innovations. Congratulations.
I guess I have to say something. Thank you so much for hosting this event. It's a pleasure to be here. And as a Canadian company, our goal is to really generate value and bring it back to Canada. And I think this is one of the first of many steps along that way. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much. And now certainly for everybody, we do want to do like the photo op opportunity. We're going to do that after we kind of wrap up with everybody online. So do not run away. Deb, do you have a few comments?
Well, on behalf of all of the judges here, I just want to thank all of the people who pitched for making our life very, very difficult. But I think you did learn from the winner. It's the little bit of white powder in the pocket that really makes a difference. Anyway, all joking aside, those presentations were excellent, and just the breadth of what we saw here and the energy and the capacity gives us great hope for the future of ag tech in this province, in this country. We're in really good shape. I think we also would like to acknowledge and thank the University of Guelph for sponsoring this, because it is by shining a light on some of these companies and giving these people a chance that really makes a difference and also helps build that capacity. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and once again, thank you, Deb. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Brian. You know, you had the tough job, but we really appreciate your support of this event and all of these companies. So thank you. Okay, so then just to wrap up today, we obviously want to thank again our finalists, and congratulations on all of you for making it this far. A big thanks to our sponsors. We've got the Ontario Agri-food Innovation Alliance, RHA Partners, and the 519 Growth Fund, as well as Ag Expert. The final thing will be the call to action, as we like to say. And just, do you want to get involved? Do you want more information? Do you want to see what else is happening? You've got an email there, that mvc@uoguelph.ca. Tyler, Kelly, you know, certainly are happy to be a part of, you know, ag tech and innovation in this province. So please don't hesitate to reach out to them. Thanks very much for your participation online, for your participation here in person. Enjoy the rest of the Friday.